I want to walk you through an idea that completely changed the way I think about thinking itself. It really all comes down to this one single realization.
So let's start with a feeling that I'm willing to bet is incredibly familiar to a lot of us. It's that classic struggle, right? The blank page. Have you ever had this happen where you can explain a really complex idea perfectly when you're just, talking to someone? You're articulate, all the points connect, but then the moment you sit down to actually write it out, nothing. It's just gone. The screen is just staring back at you and your mind feels completely empty. And it's such a frustrating feeling because you know the idea is in there. You can feel it. You just can't seem to access it. Well, if that sounds familiar, it turns out there's a very specific reason for it. And that brings us to the core of this whole thing. See, it's not about a lack of discipline or not having a clear idea. It's about how some of our brains are literally wired to process information. You might be what I've learned is called an explainer. And this is such a powerful concept. For this type of verbal thinker, you don't think before you talk. The entire process is flipped. You actually think by talking. So what this means is that your moment of clarity, that aha moment, it doesn't happen before you open your mouth when you're preparing your thoughts. It's actually forged in the very act of speaking itself. This is why you can start explaining something. Maybe you're rambling a little, feeling totally unclear, and then suddenly, halfway through a sentence, bam, it just clicks. The structure appears out of nowhere. The logic solidifies. Everything suddenly makes sense. And you might even surprise yourself thinking, wait a second, I didn't even know I understood it like that. That feeling isn't a fluke. It's not a coincidence. That's your brain working exactly as it was designed to. So if that's how we naturally work, here's where most of us go wrong. And honestly, this is the crucial part that changes absolutely everything. We try to force ourselves to write first. We sit in front of that blank page trying to organize thoughts that haven't even really been formed yet. And of course, it feels frustrating and slow and deeply unnatural, because for us, it is. We've been trying to reverse our own natural process. We assume it has to be think, then write, and then hopefully find clarity. But for an explainer, the actual process is speak first. That act of speaking creates the clarity. And from that clarity, you can then easily build the structure. And once you get that, man, everything changes. So what does this actually look like? Okay, say you have an idea you need to figure out. Step one is simple. Instead of opening a blank document, you just open a voice memo app on your phone. Then, and this is the key part, just start talking. Explain the idea out loud, like you're teaching it to a good friend. Don't worry about sounding smart. Don't edit yourself. Just ramble. Get it all out. And then finally, when you're done, you can take that transcript and just ask an AI, hey, can you organize this for me into clear sections and action steps? And just like that, what started as a messy, scattered explanation becomes structured, organized clarity. You're not fighting your brain anymore. You're building a system that just flows with it.
This is how we can completely reframe this whole thing that feels like a struggle.
Because the problem was never a lack of clear thinking on your part. The problem was that you were using a tool, the blank page, that just wasn't built for the way your mind actually works. So if you've ever had that thought that you're just better at talking than writing, please know that is not a character flaw. It's not a weakness. That is your advantage. It's your creative superpower, just waiting for you to use it correctly. And hey, if you want to see the simple step-by-step workflow that I use to turn these raw voice notes into finished ideas or content or anything else, I've put it all together for you. You can check that out at the link in the bio. Because the moment you stop fighting your natural thinking style and you start working with it, clarity stops being a struggle. It just becomes easy.